We think it was an opportunity to talk to potentially hundreds of cannabis workers about why it's important to have a voice in this industry. That was the purpose of the event. We feel like during the event, there was a particularly high level of enforcement. We had a hard time getting the event secured, and this was in large part, in our belief, because of LCB enforcement issues, potentially retaliation, potentially fear that both vendors and sponsors felt. Come to find out post-event, we've seen emails now because of a FOIA request that show potential disparate treatment, what we believe is disparate treatment, and we would like you guys to look into it.
This is an open letter to Redman. In Washington, the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board owes an apology to CantannaFest and to WCWC. There's no question about it. Before I get into that, firstly, I'm not going to take any heat from anyone for doing my job, so don't even try it. Now then, the facts of this matter, as discussed in this video momentarily, indicate that the integrity of the event and of WCWC was impugned without any justification whatsoever. It is my job to report this, just as it was the cannabis professional's job to report what she witnessed, ab initio. Now, the issue, however, is that her allegation that CantannaFest staffers requested samples from Wireline Cannabis, her company, is apparently false. What really happened, on information and belief, is that Cloud9 commissioned CantannaFest 2024 staff to do entertainment only. There was no vendor contact on this level, okay? So Cloud9's actions prompted, the report by Wireline, but with the entire CantannaFest movement and union movement as a false target. I'm not having any of that, okay? Especially because racism was part of the reason that the LCB hated the event anyway, okay? So they are indeed racist, and finally a local firm has sued them because of it. They gave licenses to unqualified whites without cannabis on their LLCs and simultaneously refused to grant them to qualified black and brown. But anyway, that's neither here nor there right now, but it is here and there. Okay, let's move along. More on that later. Anyway, as you can see in today's text message with Cassandra, I made my point succinctly to her, and all of us have to assume that her lack of response to my direct question on the identity of the offending party denotes that I am right. At least it connotes that. It probably denotes that too. I'm on point as usual. It's a King Cast hallmark. Anyway, the prior event was the Budtenders Ball. Okay, even though it turns out that CantannaFest staff never spoke with Cassandra Deane relative to this event, nor did they speak with her at any point in time, nor did anyone speak to her on their behalf, nor as proxy. Also remember that Cloud9 is the shop that was falsely portrayed as a social equity success by the LCB. Dennis Turner is one of the raisins in the porridge from which they fashioned the false narrative that Cloud9 was a social equity success. It was not. He was already there. The shop opened up like the day after the licenses became available. It was just a complete farce. Anyway, meanwhile, the sexual assault case against his former staffer, Julian Willis, continues to get postponed. It was scheduled for this week, but now is pushed again, this time to February of 2025. Now, I remember when a friend of mine was raped at a VW dealer a few years back, and that case also took forever to prosecute as well. It's a joke. The criminals run the enterprise here. Anyway, so then I told her in closing that if you have any more questions, you or your counsel can feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure we will understand each other, as I've never lost a content-based defense as a journalist in my entire life, nor have I ever lost a First Amendment criminal defense case trial either as an attorney. I'm ready. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the story. I'm ready to report that too. Cheers.
Please leave your message for 3605008.
All right, so listen. When Redman and I were discussing the LCB's heavy manipulative hand at CantannaFest this year, he was already concerned. But we didn't yet have the concrete proof that the agency was outright gunning to shut them down. Well, now we do, thanks to a King Cast public records request. You see some of it right here.
My name is Sarah Charon. I am the Chief of Staff of WCW 3000 for the largest local union in Washington State, representing grocery workers, healthcare workers, and cannabis workers. We think it was an opportunity to talk to potentially hundreds of cannabis workers about why it's important to have a voice in this industry. That was the purpose of the event. We feel like during the event, there was a particularly high level of enforcement. We had a hard time getting the event secured, and this was in large part, in our belief, because of LCB enforcement issues, potentially retaliation, potentially fear that both vendors and sponsors felt. Come to find out post-event, we've seen emails now because of a FOIA request that show potential disparate treatment, what we believe is disparate treatment, and we would like you guys to look into it.
Please leave your message for 3605008.
And I'm questioning some events that you reported to the Liquor Cannabis Board regarding CantannaFest sponsors and hosts. The allegation was that there was, a pay-to-play thing, or that people would bring free samples for distribution and consumption. That was not my experience at CantannaFest, and I've spoken with Scott McKinley, who indicates that he never spoke with you. So I would like to find out, who told you that, so that we can get to the bottom of this. And I look forward to hearing from you. My number is 617-543-8085. So I can definitely tell you, I spoke at CantannaFest, and there was no open cannabis consumption. None of that was encouraged. So yeah, like I said, I just want to find out what happened. And again, my number is 617-543-8085. Thank you.
To send this message now, press pound or hang up.
Why do you have to go through the whole menu just to send the message? Isn't that ridiculous? Anyway,
Your message has been sent. Thank you for calling. Goodbye.
Well, alrighty then. Yeah, I'd like to find out why. And as noted in my previous videos, we saw the fact that LCB was saying, there's nothing we can do to prevent this thing from going down and all this stuff. And as I said publicly at the meetings, why aren't you encouraging CantannaFest and what it represents? I just don't quite understand that. But you look at the history of the LCB, you look at someone like Bill Lucala, who still refuses to stay to give me a CB, which is ridiculous. And, there's a heavy kind of law enforcement background in as far as the LCB is concerned from the beginning, and that's what it's about. So, and I don't mean positive law enforcement, I mean like negative stuff, Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, we all know the truth. Consultant Michael Smith got a text message from a rival producer processor about some alleged cannabis quid pro quo. Really? The hearsay on top of hearsay? So anyway, who was it? In whose network does this person exist in the cannabis world? Is it an Eisenberg network? Is it a Widmer or Khalifa network, one of those cronies, or somebody else? All right? Anyway, none of this is protected information, and I want it. And I want it now. Now, moreover, the time has come for any now responsible statespeople, journalists, and lawyers to do something, do anything humanly possible to disembowel this agency and replace it with one led by established leaders of the original cannabis community instead of the LCB and Vicky Christopherson Waka cronies. Their time has come. They need to go. They have robbed legitimate medical, black and brown, and anybody not in their circle. They've robbed them blind for more than a decade now. And in my opinion, they need to be in prison. But one can only hope.
Not this, but the LCB.
Right, that's right.
We got
how they control and
all the bullshit.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like when you move on purpose. Nothing can stop it.
We got the purpose. It may take a little time.
Yes, it's going to take us longer, but we're moving with purpose, and that's what it's about.
We're doing something right?
Yeah, exactly.
So afraid of us.
Exactly.
For the hegemony, for the Sherman Act violations, the racism, the hatred of the white co-ops, all of it. The rampant abuses of black and brown, and the cronyism from people like Widmer, from people like Ian Eisenberg, and then moving this event, because it was Waka and LCB that conspired to move this event like 4 different times until it wound up here. That's the backstory. We're going to talk about it. Peace.
And you're here to bring passion and healing to the world. That's zeal.
Yes, sir.
Cultivating zeal.
Yes.
That's what we're all doing.
With truth to power, baby.
Yes, sir.
Truth to power. That's what's up. I love it.
Explain things to you so you can understand what needs to happen to move forward. The things I have seen since 1990 when I went to law school, I have never seen I have never been more troubled by the actions of a government agency than I have been by the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. And we can change that. You gotta follow along with Black Excellence in Cannabis. You can find me through Jacob Stone. You can find me on YouTube. It's KingCast plus Cannabis. You'll find my videos and you'll get to learn what's going on because big things are going on. We're gonna put an end to the corruption. And we're gonna make sure that everybody gets a fair share of what we were supposed to have 12 years ago when they brought in I-502. Who's down with that? So yeah, folks, in closing, I didn't go to law school to get shackled. I didn't become a journalist to get shackled. You didn't smoke weed to get shackled, all right? So we're gonna break them free. And that's what's up.
All right. Yes, thank you. So, get involved. We are Washington Cannabis Workers Club. You can find us at WashingtonCannabisWorkersClub.org. So, WashingtonCannabisWorkersClub.org. Join the movement. Let's do it. Yeah.